Hi, welcome to my show where I get to interview amazing people who have inspiring stories or who have accomplished quite a bit or just are talented. And I'm just lucky enough that I do know such people, including my guest today. This is Laith Moroki. Hello, Laith.
Hi, Ron.
So I've known Laith for
Long time.
yeah. Yeah, over 20 years. Let's just say that, okay? And I am not exaggerating. And so he is not only my friend, but he also is actually a family friend. And he's very dear to us because just over the years, we've known your family. You have an incredible family. And unfortunately, there was something that happened recently that really I know shocked you, but really and was devastating. But we all felt that. I think, you know, when something bad happens to anybody, people feel bad. But then when it happens to really good people, it's just really more difficult to take. I'm
You.
going to let you share the story yourself because, it's your story. And I'd like you to share it.
Sure. So it's not easy for me to go through the story, so I'll try to keep my composure. In April 28th of last year, we had a house fire, and I lost my 17-year-old son, Matthew. So Matthew was a very special kid. I know all parents think their kids are special, and they are. But Matthew was very involved in his work. He was very involved in school. He had a huge fan base. He was at 17. Actually, he was involved in a lot of charity work. He really cared about people. So he was one of these people that was very humane. I remember, I mean, simple things like kids like to have toys and clothes and things like that. He always didn't want to bother us unless if he needs something. So he was living within his means, and at the time was mind-boggling for us because we always think, like when Matthew wants something, we used to get happy because he's asking for something. Because he never asked us for anything. He always was very content with what he have. He probably he wanted the things that made him truly happy. And through that, I really learned a lot from him. Believe it or not, I mean, he taught me a lot about humility and I mean, comparing him to I have my other, I have my daughter and my son, which like to indulge a little bit, which is nothing wrong with it, but they like the good stuff, the pretty stuff, the expensive stuff. Matthew didn't. He was just in nature. I mean, not because we taught him all the same. We did the same thing with them, and he just was very content. He had a different goals, different beliefs. Kind of like he was more into. He had a lot of questions too. He always questioned, like why things work that way.
He
So
sounds like you, Laith.
he is
He
actually.
really,
He does.
actually, I think that this is the reason that so many people were heartbroken because everything you just described, that's really how we felt about you. You were very humble. You've come a long way. Everybody's seen you grow and prosper, but you worked very hard for everything you had. And you really never, like, you didn't cause any problem.
I don't.
We
No.
were the most you and I would do because we worked near each other would maybe like gossip a little bit here and
Yep.
there. Nothing serious. But you were if somebody needed help, you were there to do it, and you really tried not to put any weight on anybody. Meaning that sometimes people will just stir up problems for nothing, and you didn't do that. So everything you just described about Matthew, that sounds like you, and your wife is very kind as well. So, but of course I know you more because we worked so long together. And when I was at the mass, the day they had mass of the burial, Father Matthew gave just this really beautiful sermon and just brought up some of Matthew's qualities. one of the things that touched me because I could see, well, he said that, he was so involved in his artwork and he just really loved creating. That, if you called him on the phone and he's like, what do you want? He would answer with what you want. And I thought, oh my gosh, I kind of, at that point, I really admired him, even though I'd only seen him when he was a little mostly. But because sometimes I feel like that about life, like if somebody's bothering me and I feel I'm in my writing and my creation. And then shortly after that, all of a sudden you were posting his beautiful artwork. And I was in tears because I thought, we just really lost someone so beautiful and artistic, and aside from all his other all the other descriptions and just the fact that he was so young too. So that's when I discovered he was an artist. And so when I recently learned that you guys are having this event, so first thing, it was like makes me teary-eyed, because he's not here to witness that, although I do believe he is in spirit. But this Matthew's Masterpieces event, I'd like you to talk about it. Tell the people what it is, where it's going to be at, why are you doing this, and as you are going to share this, I will share some of his artwork.
Okay. I'm going to try not to chuckle, but so Matthew was very involved with his art. A quick story on how he got into the art piece of his life. So in middle school, he went to Jeanette Middle School, and he was a little frustrated because the subjects were too easy for him. He used to come home, spend 5 minutes. He was very he was a smart kid, so his grade average was in the 4.0 or so. In Jeanette, he used to come home and complain that things are too easy. He's like, it's too boring. I don't know what to do. And then his high school year, his 10th grade, he looked at, actually 9th grade, he looked at IB program, which is International Baccalaureate, which is still public school, but it's different program. It's more for, it's more challenging. So the subjects they take, it's more college quality studies. So he really wanted to go to this program. It is a test they have to take, and then there's limited numbers. You have to score high on that test to get in. Mm-hmm. And he got in. And I could tell you the first year he used to spend 5 minutes to do his homework before. Now he's spending hours doing his homework. I'm like, wow, what happened here?
So was he finally happy that he could?
He's busy. He liked to be busy. He liked to keep himself busy all day. And he got into the art. The first year he took art, and his art teacher made an impression on him where he loved art. And he really worked really hard. I mean, he used to stay till 4 o'clock in the morning working on his art pieces. He wanted to be an architect. That was one of his dreams. But he also wanted to minor in art. So he wanted to keep art something in his, something that he wants to do. What you see right now is actually...
this is beautiful.
So this is his homework, actually.
This is very complex for his age.
It is. That was one piece that I really like. So Matthew's Masterpieces came about because we were frustrated that this kid who spent countless hours creating these beautiful things, and most people, even the close people to us, didn't know that he had that talent because Matthew was very quiet. Most people thought he didn't have any interest, or he didn't do any extra activities like the other kids, but he was really into his art, and he was a quiet kid. That's all.
Can you tell me a little bit about this one, please? Because
sure. So as a joke, Matthew was very he loved himself, so he used to stand in front of the mirror and say, "Wow, I'm so beautiful." So his brother started calling him Sire Matthew. So we started at home. We call him Sire. Hey Sire, whatever. And to our surprise, after he passed, we learned that in school they used to call him King Matthew. So his friends used to call him king. And this is one of his portrait where he drew himself as a king. To, I think it was more of a joke with his friends, you know. But his friends called him king all the time. And one funny story, he made it's not here, but there's a t-shirt. He started making T-shirts with his face in it. He drew the face, and he put the king backward. That was actually a homework that he did for school, and his teacher goes to him, because they scan it, you know, you're supposed to have the king backward on the paper so it goes straight on the shirt.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't. He did it the other way. So she's like, "You did it wrong. It's supposed to go the other way." He's like, "No, I didn't. I want to see it when I look in the mirror to read it right."
Oh my.
You know? I think he had it wrong, but he kind of came up with this idea.
Yeah.
So this,
well, he's brilliant in his answer anyway.
Yeah. So this thing trended a little bit. So the kids started buying that T-shirt. He started printing his T-shirts and selling it to the kids in school. And he have a little clip where he says, "This is my T-shirt. If you want to buy it, it's $10. But if you bring your own shirt, it's $5." And he was donating that money to charity. So that was his thing.
And that's another thing. You know, you want to talk a little bit. I know that the proceeds or some of the proceeds are going to be going to Freedom House of Detroit, and that the reason that you chose that particular organization is because it was something that was special to Matthew's heart. So can you tell a little bit about who they are?
Sure. So Matthew was involved at 17. He was involved with a few charities, actually. That was not the only one. I think that program and the people he surrounded himself with were involved in the community, so he got involved with it too. Freedom House of Detroit is a place where they host people who have asylum, who are refugees, who they were persecuted in different countries, who have no place to stay. So they keep them in that house. They feed them, you know, clothe them, take care of them until they have a status where they could be, you know, productive people in the community. So Matthew's political beliefs were very outspoken. He was very outspoken when he believed passionately in something. You can't change this kid's mind if he believed in something. So he got involved with this charity. Last year they did the biggest donation to them as a group effort, him and his friends. And that was the last charity that he worked on. So therefore we felt that we should at least, you know, this is the event that we should give back to this charity, because he was working on it when the fire happened, so he didn't see the end of it. But it was one of the biggest charity events that the school have done for a charity, you know, organization. So this is where the proceeds gonna go to Freedom House of Detroit. You could Google it. It's a very I was involved in them. Actually, the first thing I called them and said, I want to do something. What do you guys need? And to my surprise, he said, to be honest with you, we need bathroom tissues. They needed bathroom tissues because they host these people and they don't have funding for these programs, so they depend on people. And he said, we don't have money to go buy bathroom tissues, and it's a necessity. And I thought, we take things for granted. We don't.
Right, especially because we living in this country, you know, these kind of things, they might seem simple, but should be. That's right. You know, I couldn't help though, like when you're describing what he's involved, it's very hard to wrap your head around the fact that he was only 17 and so talented, so accomplishing. He's inspiring us at his story. And that's why I really believe in stories. I feel they inspire us and they make us sometimes even wake up and think like, wait a minute, here's this kid at 17 years old, so creative, doing his artwork, but also very unselfish, because here he is doing, working with nonprofits, organizations, raising money for refugees or whoever he was helping. So it just, and plus just his dedication to his homework. And I'm sure I would imagine even being a good son, aside from just the normal type of stuff, just because of the way he was. So you must be so proud. You really must be so proud that his story, and he must be very proud. I'm sure, I know the type of father you are, and I know that everybody knows that you are the kind of person that you're there for your family. I know you're even a great husband. I mean, when you used to tell me all the things, and I hear like you're the kind that will go and get flowers on Valentine's Day, do all the extra things that sometimes husbands don't, or after certain years, maybe they start slacking off. But you just put family. I think that's the thing about you. You always put family first, and from your wife, from your kids. And one of the things that I thought after your son died, and honestly, like I take my usual daily walks, and I was just in so much tears. I just couldn't believe just what you were experiencing. And at some point, though, I thought, I wonder what is the meaning of this? Because I believe in God, and it's sometimes the only thing that keeps us sane, And I thought, what is this about? What is Matthew's story? What is his legacy? This is all about, before I knew anything, before I attended the funerals and found out about his artwork. And it hasn't been even a year, and his story is continuing to live through his art. And plus, he's going to be, if you can tell us a little bit more about the event, where it's going to be.
Sure.
And now that you're telling me that it's going to be helping this kind of an organization, so you're really keeping his spirit alive,
Well, that's the goal. We're trying to keep Matthew's legacy going. First, thanks for the compliment. You made my head too big. I don't know if I got
about the flowers. Yeah, because it's like you're the kind of husband, like, a wife would tell her husband, look, Laith bought flowers for his wife, So actually, we might be getting you in trouble in a way.
Let's keep it with Matthew's event. So anyways, Matthew's Masterpieces will be on the 28th of, that's not it, on the 28th of April in Troy Community Center. So Troy Community Center, 28th of April and the 29th. So it's a Saturday and a Sunday between the hours of 3 and 7. What's going to happen is we're going to display Matthew's artwork, and we will have some fun with, we're going to have some silent auction. We're going to do some giveaways. It would be a fun event, but mainly we're trying to display what Matthew's legacy looked like. So we have a lot of art pieces that we will display. We have his homework, which is the books that he was working on. They will be there for people to. It will be displayed. But what we're gonna do, we're gonna blow them up and have them on a wall so they could go through them. And actually, going through his work, it's an educational piece too, because he's going through all different kinds of arts, and he's describing what the art is and how it's kind of like his theses, if you will. You know, so you have 4 books, and we're going to display all 4 in that. So it is April 28th and the 29th.
And how can people find out more if they're, where can they go? I know you have a Facebook page.
Yes,
I don't know if you mentioned that.
So Facebook page is Matthew's Masterpieces. You could buy tickets through the Facebook page. It is $50 to get in, and his school is free. So for his
classmates. Okay. Is there a phone number or anything that they can call? I know that I saw it somewhere.
Usually my daughter is taking care of it, so they could call 586-567-0113, or they could call me 586-567-6000.
And one thing, this is something that you intend perhaps of having it on a yearly basis. Were you guys thinking, depending on how things go?
Depend on how it goes on the first event. We would like to keep it. My goal, so let me tell you one thing. In business, I always look for my big why. So why am I doing business? So my big why, I always used to I have it all over my office, my 3 kids. So my 3 kids is my big why why I'm working, why I'm making money, why. So I'm not sure if you've heard of the term big why.
Yes, I
But
have.
yeah.
Yeah, I haven't heard yours.
Well,
Your
my
why.
big why
Your
is
big
my
why.
my three kids. So my big why is basically family.
Mhm.
My big why have not changed. It's still my three kids, but I added Matthew's legacy to it. So I will dedicate time and put more emphasis on getting his word out. And like you said, this what we just talked about in a half hour. I can't describe to you the things he was doing and he was involved in and what he believed in, because I'm very political too. So we used to have the biggest thing I miss losing him is the arguments we used to have. So so it's I'm trying to bring what he believed in to life. So that's one of my missions now. It's gonna take a lot of strength. I'm trying to hold everything down right now because it's not easy for me to talk about, the experiences. But that's, this is one step to get me to what I want to accomplish. So if I have a successful event on the 28th and the 29th, and I know that it would be probably a yearly event. And I'm thinking right now we're displaying his art. We have about 180 pieces to display, so it's not a small collection. When we do this next year, maybe we could help other artists to be involved.
I was just gonna say, I think there's so much possibilities to do with this, and it's all gonna come to you once you start this particular event.
True.
It's gonna come to you, and then you'll know which direction. But it's just so beautiful that you still realize that you do still have three kids to work with.
I do.
And the part about missing his arguments, it kind of, I don't know, when you said that, it just felt like sometimes those are the things that you want to pull your hair out when you're arguing with your kids about things, and then you take for granted how beautiful that alone can be.
Yeah. Oh no, our arguments were usually about politics or
like
art
smart debates or debates. Yeah.
Yeah, they were debates. Yeah, not
They were
arguments.
debates.
I should have
see.
worded it that way.
Yeah, and and I know that from before even our conversations, you're very educated in many factors, and I'm not just talking about school wise, but really you used to be aware of the things, your surroundings, politics, religion. You just kept yourself very informed, and it seems like he was kind of that way too. So
yeah, he definitely picked up that.
Yeah.
He liked to know at least a little bit about everything. So he was. Speaking of debate, he was in a debate club too. So
he was okay. So this was part of it came naturally to him. Yep. His artwork. I want to show some of the pieces again because I still have to kind of remember the age factors involved.
I didn't send you a lot because I had a few on my phone,
but just them alone, you can stare at the ones that you were able to send me. Just those.
By the way,
look at this.
This piece here is actually colluded because these pieces were basically black after the fire, so we had to restore them. So these went through some intensive cleaning. If you have seen it before the fire, the colors are very bright, very. This is one of my favorite pieces.
So did it change
I have some old pictures. Not much difference, but I feel it gave it a little more character, having going through a fire, basically.
I hope you're gonna put this information next to. I hope
we will.
Because
we
that
will have a disclaimer.
Because that alone gives so much meaning, especially because of the fact of the colors that are involved in it, and
these when the restoration company picked them up, they were basically just dark black sheets of canvas basically, but they have their process to restore art pieces.
That's incredible.
This company did a great job. This one, because the light colors, it still has a little bit of a collusion from the fire, but they did a good job getting it back together. So this piece here, he only used 3 colors to paint it. So the whole painting, it's only 3 colors. Don't ask me which 3, but that's
Oh, you know that it's 3 colors.
it's only 3 colors. I'm guessing it's green, blue, and white.
All right.
But so you see the gray and all that.
Mhm.
It's the resolution of the two colors or mixing the colors together. So this was one of the challenges he took to paint this painting
Mhm.
with only 3 colors. So
Let's see.
so again, I'm gonna plug in the thing again. It's on the 28th and the 29th of
Yeah.
April. It's at the Troy Community Center.
Mhm.
It's on 16 and Livernois.
Okay.
And they could go to Matthew's Masterpieces to get tickets or have more information.
That's great. Thank you, Laith. But I was wondering, we have just a few more minutes, and I don't even know if this is maybe too soon to even ask you something like this. But do you have any kind of maybe words of wisdom to share with any parents who might have gone through something that's so tragic? And I know because your personality, this is just part of you. You're always turning any situation into a positive. I mean, if I come in to work in a bad mood and you would just kind of flip it around, and if you were going through a hard time, you would say, well, at least, and you would always look at the positive side. And sometimes that's hard to do. I mean, and sometimes it's even impossible to do, given the extent. I mean, in this case, but I feel that I saw you doing it. I saw you just by following you, by again, our families. We hear about what you're doing, the activities, so we're connected, even though if I don't see you too much in person. So in these last few minutes, what advice would you give a parent that's going through something difficult?
Well, I don't wish it to nobody. I wish the normal way of living, parents die before their kids. I mean, that's what it should happen. However, if it, when it happened, you really don't have any choice but to, you can be angry. I could tell you I was angry. I lost my faith for a minute. I was angry at God. I was angry at myself. I started blaming myself, blaming everybody around me. But I learned not just through this. Like you said, I'm a very positive person.
Yes,
I like
it's
to
like
stay
part
positive
of who you are. Yeah.
all the time. But I feel that not just because I'm a good person, these things shouldn't happen to me, or because I'm a bad person, bad things should happen to me. There is no such a thing. I believe that life happens. Things just happen. So my advice is just go through it. Go through your emotions, whatever it is. If you want to cry, cry. If you want to scream, scream. If you want to be mad, be mad. I think it's all part of grief, which is okay. It's okay. I mean, we have to, in the beginning I was a little mad at my wife, because not mad, but more like, no, don't cry. Calm down. That's wrong. I realized that I was wrong. She need to cry. She need to grieve. She need to do.
Everybody handles it differently.
Yeah. So expose your emotions. That's okay. And time is not going to heal it, but you will find a way to live with it. Okay. So that's. I don't think time is going to heal anything, but we are all finding our way to go through it, basically. So.
Well. Again, Laith, thank you so much for coming. And by the way, I'm going to be at the event, so I'm so excited to see the rest of his work. So I'm going to be there. So I'm excited about that. Okay.
Great.
Well, thank you for coming on this show. I know it's been kind of recent, but for feeling comfortable enough to even discuss this with me. Thanks
for having me.
Okay.
Appreciate it.